We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-905-9814. That's 1-800-905-9814.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, this may be the most important phone call you'll ever make.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. But listen.
Your tax problem is settled. You only owe $3,500.
What a great message.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, then you owe it to yourself to call this number. Let our experts help guide you through the process of negotiating a tax settlement. Call this number or go to tax10000.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL this Friday. I'm Richard French. We're going to wrap up the week following several major stories, including the trial of the former Minneapolis police officer facing murder charges over the death of George Floyd, as well as a man attacking the police at our Capitol again today and tragically taking the life of one of those officers. But we begin with Matt Gaetz, the Trump mini-me, now being investigated for possible sex trafficking, including sex with a minor, which could end not only his career in politics, but also lead him to some real criminal exposure. And it will also, all but surely, one would think, end his place as a rising right-wing media star. But as embarrassing as this Florida congressman has become for the Republican Party, and he is, Matt Gaetz is their problem after all. The party, it is reaping what it sows after years of defending Donald Trump and ceding the party to its wing of crazies. Here to unpack that, and there's a lot to do, let me bring in Andrew Whitman.
Well, Rich, the Matt Gaetz story is quickly turning into quicksand for Gaetz and possibly for anyone standing too close to him. What he's being investigated for is both disgusting and toxic, and what we're learning through added reporting, frankly, is even worse. The Justice Department investigating Gaetz for his role in a money for sex operation and for a possible sexual relationship with a 17-year-old girl while Gaetz was 37. Gaetz is linked to the investigation, or in the investigation, to a state politician already facing trial this summer on a slew of counts that includes sex trafficking. It involved multiple women recruited online for sex in exchange for cash payments. Investigators want to know if Gaetz took the women across state lines and paid them for sex. If so, that would be a federal felony. And whether Gaetz gave anything of value to the 17-year-old in exchange for sex, another federal felony. And Gaetz may have, according to additional reporting, Gaetz may have used his campaign funds to help pay for those liaisons, another potential felony. And as news outlets begin to lift the lid on the Gaetz story, what they're finding is even worse. From the Times, one of the women agreed to have sex with someone else involved in Florida Republican politics, that the two men used Cash App and Apple Pay to give the women money, which means there are records and receipts. The women later told friends that money was indeed for sex. That the two men would instruct the women on where to meet and how much money they were willing to spend, that they also sometimes paid in cash with money withdrawn from hotel ATMs, and that some of the men, including Gaetz, took ecstasy while partying with the women and encouraged the girls to recruit others to come have sex with him and his friends. Reaction from the Republican Party? Crickets. Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene, both of whom have their own scandals to deal with, both saying they stand with Gaetz, but that's about it. Even House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy wouldn't go to bat for Gaetz, saying only that the allegations have not yet been proven. Gaetz's communications director has resigned. He's resigned out of principle, according to multiple sources. Even his enablers at Fox News are walking away after Gaetz went on Tucker Carlson Tuesday within minutes of the story breaking. Gaetz in that interview tried to enlist Carlson's help in his defense. Tucker would not help. And the network has gone 2 full days since the interview without even mentioning Gaetz or the scandal. Some of that may be because the investigation began during the Trump administration and under AG Bill Barr, which frankly makes the case harder to dismiss as just a partisan attack. But it might also be because Republicans in the House knew what they were getting with Gaetz. but they still elevated him and leaned on him for some of their most partisan attacks. More on that in a moment. But as most Republicans clam up on Gates, others are lining up to dish out even more dirt. Gates appears to have few friends and lots of enemies within the House GOP. Some are now telling reporters of his love for alcohol and illegal drugs, his series of connections with much younger women, that he openly dated a college student. She was over 18 back in 2018 when she came to D.C. as an intern, and staffers who would not let their bosses appear next to Gates for fear of what they called his inevitable scandal. Another Hill staffer sending the Daily Beast a photo of a trash can outside Gates' office on cleanout day. At the top of the can, an empty Costco-sized box of bearskin Trojan condoms. Others telling reporters that Gates showed nude photos of women he said he had slept with, including one of a naked woman playing hula hoop on the floor of the house. That source calling his photos, quote, a point of pride. And yet more reporting that while in the state legislature, Gates and others had a game that would score their female conquests with added points for sleeping with interns or staffers or female colleagues in the state house and virgins. Gates says the allegations are part of an extortion plot against his family, and while that's possible, it's also possible that his potentially criminal actions are the thing he's being extorted over. And we should note, lots of Republicans knew Gates was creepy, the word many of them used, either through rumor or direct interaction with him. But if Republicans are walking away from him now, it's only because he's already served their purposes. As he used the party to inflate his image, they used him the same way. When he was sworn in 2017, Gates was assigned to the Budget and Armed Services Committee. But he instantly became a regular on Fox News, raising his profile as a conservative pit bull who would attack Democrats and defend President Trump with fervor. So as the impeachment of Donald Trump began to ramp up, House Republicans moved Gates onto the Judiciary Committee, the tip of the spear for impeachment. There, Gates reached full froth, both on the committee and off, like when he helped a group of Republicans to storm a secure room that they were not supposed to be in. They did that to delay the process and, of course, so that Gates could get his mug on TV. Gates was among the most vocal Republicans saying Trump had the 2020 election stolen from him, and even worse, he was setting the stage to claim election fraud months before anyone had voted.
If we just wait around, big tech will steal this election from Donald Trump and from the American people.
Just hours after the Capitol riot, Gates was already deflecting blame, wrongly claiming on the floor of the House that Antifa members in disguise were the real rioters. If there's a lesson for Republicans from Gates, it may be, as Rich said, you reap what you sow. And not just because of Gates or Donald Trump's sex lives. This is all the result of the GOP's self-selection and descent into crazy town. And before you blast me for saying that, I took the phrasing from former Republican House Speaker John Boehner, whose new book profiles the party's slide into conspiracy and QAnon. Boehner pinning the fall of the party around 2010 and the Tea Party election. He wrote, "You can be a total moron and get elected just by having an R next to your name." And that year, 2020, by the way, we did pick up a fair number in that category. He notes how brainless many of his freshmen were in that class and that they didn't want to govern, they just wanted to blow up Washington. Boehner writes that many were only thinking of ways to fundraise and get themselves on Sean Hannity, leaning on wedge issues, conspiracy, and crusades. Sound familiar? And that by 2013, Boehner was already referring to his Republican House caucus as Crazy Town, with new members who had their own power base, thanks to conservative media and their fundraising. Boehner left Congress in October 2015. 13 months later, Matt Gaetz was elected. And it's a short step from Boehner's fear of GOP Crazy Town to the House Republican caucus of today. And Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Madison Cawthorn, and others. Rich?
And unfortunately, you could go on and on from that. I think Andrew really set it up that if people make the mistake and just look at Matt Gaetz and says, oh, this is just one more perv lawmaker who's finally getting caught, you're missing the bigger story. The bigger story is that Matt Gaetz was never qualified to be put in positions of authority within the Republican Party, important committeeships, etc. Moreover, everybody knew apparently that this guy was quote unquote creepy. His reputation followed him from Florida. He got there. And let's just think for a second what Kevin McCarthy did with him and what he found so objectionable. The day after the impeachment vote in the House, where a good number of Republicans, not enough to really speak for the party, but a number of Republicans voted their conscience. And what they did was they said what Donald Trump did, leading those folks for the insurrection that took lives on Capitol Hill, was beyond the pale. By the way, reflecting what the majority of America had to say. Nonetheless, Matt Gaetz couldn't help but get on a plane and fly out to Wyoming to attack and attempt to fundraise against one of those Republicans, Liz Cheney. If her name's familiar, I think you knew her dad, the former vice president. This is Matt Gaetz in Wyoming, of all places, right after our country was attacked by its own.
Leadership doesn't mean backing a Nancy Pelosi fueled impeachment by reflex. You know.
He went on, but Andrew, to me, Kevin McCarthy condemned and spoke more ill of Liz Cheney and allowed the folks like the Getzes of the world to attack her, which is what Donald Trump wanted, than he has said about Matt Gaetz. Now let's just remember, as a frame of reference, they don't always rally around their own. Al Franken took a stupid picture with a sleeping woman on a plane where he didn't touch her, but he pantomimed doing it.
Before he was in the Senate, I'll point.
Right. And he got kicked out of the Senate because Democrats, like, you got to include the junior New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand among them, said, no, too far. Where has the Republican outrage been over Matt Gaetz? Again, Republicans were the ones who came forward talking about how much of a creep this guy is. And by the way, the Department of Justice investigated it. It didn't start with political opponents or Biden's guys. This happened under Bill Barr. So again, reap what you sow. I'm going to say it for the third time this segment. That's what you get. You get these people. And it's too late for Kevin McCarthy, if he even believes they're wrong, to turn away the Boeberts, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, whatever. It's too late. He's letting them take root in the party. He's letting them lie going out forward, knowingly lie. And now they're saddled with this garbage, and they don't know what to do.
And John Boehner, in the quotes that I wrote, basically it was how the caucus got away from him and all the crazies started getting away, and there was no way to control them. And then he left. Paul Ryan never tried. Kevin McCarthy hasn't tried. And it's in part because I don't think they know how to deal with the popularity of those people. It's the populism of Trump and Gaetz and those sorts of people, and their Republican leadership is afraid to object to it. So that Kevin McCarthy basically hung Liz Cheney, his number 2 lieutenant, out to dry, letting Matt Gaetz go after and attack him, and letting other Republicans do it as well. Again, they don't know what their base of power is. They're afraid of their voters, and they're afraid of the reaction from the Trumps and the other populists.
And by the way, the lies that are coming forward, when you have a Tucker Carlson saying on live television, I don't know what you're talking about the supposed dinner that Carlson and his wife had with one of these women and Matt Gaetz. He's leaving it to Fox News' McCarthy to decide what to say of his own. And when pressed on the issue, what did McCarthy say his punishment might be? He might be stripped from the Judiciary Committee, not from his job. My God, with minors.
And by the way, the Judiciary Committee oversees the Justice Department. The Justice Department is investigating Matt Gaetz. He shouldn't be on the committee right now anyway, because he's being investigated by the entity that he's supposed to oversee.
You know, this is not about, let's pick off one more person in Washington if they're wearing red or blue. This is a bigger problem, because to me, the next wave of Republicans, not just in these House seats, but into the Senate too, this litmus test in these primaries, where you got to be crazier than the last guy, they can't unwind this clock.
You're going to hear the argument that it's a few bad apples. It's not. It's the barrel and it's the tree.
Andrew, thank you. When we come back, everyone, we're going to turn to Minnesota. The trial of Derek Chauvin, it has recessed for the weekend, and it is set to resume Monday. After the break, I'll tell you what you may have missed this week, and there was some really seismic testimony and video shown here. Powerful, emotional testimony. We'll have that for you after this.
Remember when taking a hot bath was the best part of your day? And for some, it can be hard and even not safe just getting in. Older bathtubs can be as high as 20 inches. Let's face the facts. As we get older, our knees and backs start to hurt us. Getting in and out of an old bathtub can be difficult and even dangerous. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel, a name you know and trust, has the perfect solution for you. We call it the tub to shower conversion. We'll remove your old bathtub and the need to step over a dangerously high threshold, replacing it with the safety and luxury of a low-profile walk-in shower. Advanced materials mean no more mold or mildew from an old bathroom, and all this in about a day. As a special bonus to you, you'll get a special extra safety feature for free. So please call now.
This is important news for people who took certain drugs for HIV and then suffered serious injury to their kidneys or bones. Your HIV drug could have contained TDF, an ingredient known to increase the risk of kidney disease and kidney failure. TDF has also been linked to bone fractures, bone density loss, and softening of the bones. If you or a loved one took Truvada, Viriad, Atroplus, Stribild, or Complera and then suffered from kidney disease, kidney failure, bone fractures, osteoporosis, osteopenia, or osteomalacia, call the lawyers at Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. If you or a loved one took any of these medications and were then diagnosed with kidney disease, kidney failure, bone fractures, bone density loss, or softening of the bones, call Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call Davis & Crump right now. Operators are standing by.
If something happened to you, what would happen to them? Their home, their education, their future. You need life insurance, and chances are SelectQuote can help you get it for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found Jacob 40, a $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. And SelectQuote found his wife Wendy, a $500,000 policy for only $17 a month.
Our secret? At SelectQuote, we aggressively comparison shop up to 10 highly rated companies to find you the company with the best rates.
We found Gary, 35, a $1 million policy for only $22 a month.
Why pay more? Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
Call 800-717-7198 or go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs.
At a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
There is so much pain and hurt that followed that was unneeded. After this whole trial, whether or not he's locked up, George Floyd is no longer here. The one thing I would say to Derek Chauvin is justice will be served.
That's Christopher Martin. He was on GMA this morning talking about the trial of Chauvin, who is, of course, the former Minneapolis police officer facing murder charges over the death of George Floyd last Memorial Day. Martin, he was one of the last people to speak with Floyd before he got arrested, as he was a clerk at the convenience store who took the fake 20 that Floyd tried to use to buy cigarettes. Martin took the stand earlier this week, and he was asked what was going through his mind as he saw Floyd pinned to the ground.
You saw you standing there with your hands on your head for a while, correct?
Correct.
What was going through your mind during that time period?
Disbelief and guilt.
Okay. Why guilt?
If I would have just not taken the bill, this could have been avoided.
The first few days of the trial focusing on eyewitnesses, but late yesterday, prosecutors started calling police officers to the stand. That includes the shift supervisor the day that Floyd died. He took the stand late yesterday speaking about what Chauvin did.
For handcuffing somebody in a prone position or fighting with someone, it could happen where your knee ends up on their neck.
Okay. For about how long?
I guess whatever's reasonable, until you get control of the party, I guess.
Control is in the person is then handcuffed?
Handcuffed and not continuing to fight with you anymore. When Mr. Floyd was no longer offering up any resistance to the officers, they could have ended their restraint.
It should be noted Sergeant Plager retired in the aftermath of the Floyd tragedy. Also, what you just heard him say is at odds with what Chauvin's defense attorney said in court during his opening statements.
Derek Chauvin did exactly what he had been trained to do over the course of his 19-year career. The use of force is not attractive, but it is a necessary component of policing.
Now, take a listen to what a homicide detective with 25 years on the Minneapolis Police Department had to say today when he was asked about the use of force.
Have you ever, in all the years you've been working for the Minneapolis Police Department, been trained to kneel on the neck of someone who is handcuffed behind their back in a prone position?
No, I haven't.
Is that, if that were done, would that be considered force?
Absolutely.
What level of force might that be?
That would be the top tier, the deadly force.
Why?
Because of the fact that if your knee is on a person's neck, that can kill him.
Then Lieutenant Zimmerman was asked specifically about how Chauvin pinned Floyd.
What is your view of that use of force during that time period?
Totally unnecessary. Pulling him down to the ground, face down, and putting your knee on the neck for that amount of time is just uncalled for. I saw no reason why the officers felt they were in danger, if that's what they felt. And that's what they would have to feel to be able to use that kind of force.
The retired sergeant who you heard from just a minute ago says he contacted Chauvin after received a call from a 911 dispatcher who was concerned while watching security camera footage of what Chauvin was doing to Floyd. That dispatcher also testified this week. This next clip shows what she said in court under oath, but it starts with a portion of the actual call.
You can call me a snitch if you want to, but we have the cameras up for 320's call. 320 over at Cup Foods. I don't know if they had used force or not. They got something out of the back of the squad, and all of them sat on this man.
I first asked if the screens had frozen. My instincts were telling me that something's wrong. Something is not right. If this was a form of use of force, I was calling to let them know.
And again, remember the word she used. I don't care if you call me a snitch. A paramedic who treated George Floyd also took the stand yesterday, describing what he saw when he arrived.
From what I could see where I was at, I didn't see any breathing or movement or anything like that.
Did he appear to be unresponsive to you at that point in time?
From what I could tell, just standing from a distance, yes.
He treated Floyd, but an off-duty Minneapolis firefighter who came upon the scene was not allowed to get near Floyd as he was being pinned and while Floyd was unresponsive.
Firefighter from Minneapolis. Bro, look, well, you should check on him. He's not responsive right now. Back off. He's not responsive. Look at him. Get off the street. He's not responsive right now. He's not responsive right now. He's not responsive right now, bro. Just give him a pulse. No, bro, look at him. He's not responsive right now, bro. Check for a pulse. Bro, are you serious? You gonna just let him sit there with that on his neck, bro? Let me see a pulse. You call what you do. You call what he doing, okay, bro? You really a firefighter? Yes, bro. I am from Minneapolis. Okay. Bro, you call. You think that's okay? Check his pulse. Check his right now. His pulse. Get back in the check. The man ain't moved yet, bro. The man ain't moved yet, bro. Okay. Where? Minneapolis. Okay.
That firefighter, Genevieve Hansen, she took the stand earlier this week to describe the scene that was unfolding that we just showed you.
Based on your training and experience and what you had seen, what did you want to do for this person on the ground?
I would have checked for a pulse. And when I didn't find a pulse, if that was the case, I would have started compressions.
Why weren't you able to do any of that?
Because the officers didn't let me into the scene. I also offered, in my memory, I offered to walk them through it or told them, if he doesn't have a pulse, you need to start compressions, and that wasn't done either.
Several of the witnesses this week, they became emotional while on the stand, including George Floyd's girlfriend. She described how the two first met.
Floyd has this great, deep Southern voice, raspy. He's like, sis, you okay, sis? And I wasn't okay. I said, no, I'm just waiting for my son's father. He said, well, can I pray with you?
Courtney Ross was also asked about Floyd's drug use.
We both suffered from chronic pain. Mine was in my neck and his was in his back. We both had prescriptions, but after prescriptions that were filled and we got addicted and tried really hard to break that addiction many times.
The defense is expected to focus on Floyd's use of drugs when they get their turn, and they will call their respective witnesses. Floyd's autopsy found that he had fentanyl and methamphetamines in his system when he died, but it is important to note that the medical examiner says those drugs were not the cause of death. And also, the officers on scene did not know that Mr. Floyd was on any drugs at the time as well. Officially, the cause of death was heart failure. That's according to the medical examiner. This video that we saw for the first time as prosecutors presented it shows Chauvin arresting Floyd and asking if he's, quote, on something.
Advise the fire department if they're still with you, they need to go to 36 Fifth Park to assist with a
But I feel respect you. That's one person's opinion. But no, I gotta get him. We gotta control this guy because he's a sizable guy. Yeah, and I gotta get in the car. Looks like he's probably on something.
In that clip we just played, you heard Chauvin speaking with a bystander. That man was Charles McMillan. He was right there when Floyd was arrested, and Chauvin was struggling to load Floyd into the car while he was screaming and saying that he couldn't breathe. McMillan openly wept in court after seeing again the video. He's not the only grown man to break down in tears this week while on the stand. Donald Williams, an MMA fighter who was on the scene that day, and as you can see from the video, wiping away tears after prosecutors played part of the 911 call that he placed to report what was happening to Floyd. Williams also explained what he saw as Floyd was being restrained.
On a blood choke, you would tack the side of the neck, you know, in which you're in a Kimura or side chokes or things like that. You want to attack the side of the neck to cut the circulation of the breathing from your person, and then to get the choke tighter, you hit different shimmies, which I felt the officer on top was shimmying to actually get the final choke in while he was on top to get the kill choke.
The kill choke. Trial resumes on Monday. We will continue to closely follow it and bring you the most powerful and pivotal moments. Plus, we'll of course have expert analysis. But when we come back, the video speaks for itself, and the witnesses we've heard from all, I think we'd agree, are powerful. So it is looking like Chauvin's defense has its work cut out for it. After the break, expert analysis from a former top prosecutor.
When you fall and can't get help, you will lie on the floor for hours or days in constant, terrible anguish, which often results in a tragic outcome. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether at home,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
or on the go.
Help! I'm in the park and I can't get up.
And batteries never need charging. Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-215-6582. That's 1-800-215-6582. Call now. 1-800-215-6582.
Has your AC busted, computer crashed, appliance broken? Then you need ARW, American Residential Warranty.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
Home appliance repairs and replacement can cause stress and cost you over $3,000 per year. But starting at less than $1 a day, ARW has home warranty plans that cover household appliances, systems, and electronics. Parts and labor included.
When I needed ARW, they were there. My oven actually took a dive in the middle of making a big dinner for family and friends, picked up the phone, called ARW, they repaired it, dinner saved, that easy.
My air conditioning broke on a Sunday. It was so hot. I called ARW and they came out and fixed it right away.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, even pools and spas, and so much more. All you have to do is call or go to getahomeplan.com. Plus, ARW's partnered with Assurant to offer protection for all your new and used household electronics for just one low price.
I dropped my laptop and ARW replaced it with a brand new one, and all I paid was a small service fee.
All plans are fully customizable and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get a home security system valued at $1,250 free with any plan. And you can trust ARW to be there when you need it. Just call ARW and a licensed technician will be dispatched to your home. All covered repairs are guaranteed.
My refrigerator broke, and not only did ARW repair it fast, they even sent me a reimbursement check for all the food that went bad.
So come on, relax. Stop worrying about unexpected breakdowns and costly repairs. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
Call 1-800-253-1237. Again, that's 1-800-253-1237 or log on to getahomeplan.com today.
Now, before the break, we showed you how the Chauvin trial is playing out here and how prosecutors and the defense seem to be forming their respective cases. I want to bring in our guest to analyze what he's seeing and where he believes this could be heading. Tom Luzio, former prosecutor at the Westchester County DA's office and also one-time Assistant Deputy Attorney General for the state of New York. Tom, thanks for your time. You know, I got the law enforcement perspective. Chief Banks, who was the former top uniform officer in New York, he told me not only what he saw was not in any book, police protocol here in terms of how Officer Chauvin should have handled that case, but moreover, not only was it not in training, but cops, including supervisors, commanders that he spoke to, he couldn't find any of them who feel that Chauvin was in the right or understandable what he did. From your perspective, because there's a fraternity of sorts with former prosecutors, from the folks you've spoken to, the case laid out to this point by the prosecution and how damning both the testimony and the visual evidence you've seen to this point, is there a growing consensus that the defense is in trouble here?
Certainly think the defense is in trouble here. It's they've got to somehow show that there was either some lack of proper training on his part, that this use of force was reasonable, or and it just not adding up to this point at all, Richard. I mean, even if it added up for the first few minutes of the apprehension and the handcuffing and thinking that his knee, Chauvin's knee, was on Floyd's shoulder, at some point, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you pick the moment, but there's been no real response to those last 5 minutes, 6 minutes. There's just no response whatsoever that I've seen.
Put yourself in the prosecution. Do you want the jury to focus most of all that 9.5 minutes is an eternity here and they could see for themselves? Or to me, when you have a dispatcher calling in saying, you got a problem here, call me a snitch if you will, but it don't look right. Or you have an off-duty firefighter who's trying to do or offering to do CPR on the guy to try and see if she can find a pulse or to keep him alive, and they're refused, let alone seemingly everybody on the sidewalk seeing what we saw in the video, which is this is bad going to worse. So what's the one thing you want that jury, when they go to deliberate, to take from them from what they saw in that video?
The universal question that is even transcends this case is, no matter what happened prior to this arrest, no matter whether it was a person being arrested for murder or shoplifting, Once he's in custody, once George Floyd was in Derek Chauvin's custody, it was George Floyd's safety that became the responsibility of the Minneapolis PD. And beyond everything else, he was neglectful of that responsibility. Certainly, they believe that the neck to the knee was the cause of his, the knee to the neck was the cause of his death, and that there was the opioid use is not a contributing factor. But, certainly that was, at some point, became intentional. But the fact that that was his responsibility and he neglected it and still kept his knee on George Floyd's neck is just unconscionable.
How does it work, Tom? I know each case is different and each piece of evidence uniquely examined by the judge, but how does it get decided before that Memorial Day, obviously tragic incident? What gets in terms of evidence and what doesn't from their biographies beforehand? The judges said that, hey, a year ago, Floyd was stopped with eerie similarities, drugs also, and that's going to be presented to the audience. But Chauvin's got a jacket himself of prior uses of force here and some complaints that were issued against him. As I understand it, that won't be entered. Is there a rule of thumb? What's relevant, what's not, what gets to be shared with the jury and what doesn't? Sure.
So no doubt, especially if Chauvin knew a little bit about that prior arrest where Floyd was combative, it's a small thing in his defense. But as I understand Chauvin's career, there were 18 prior complaints or so, give or take. And so, law enforcement, my whole career, I saw a lot of active cops get hit with a lot of complaints that were not founded. I care, first and foremost, I care about the founded complaints, which, from my understanding, there were 4. So that, first of all, it's hard for me to argue against those other 14 complaints that turned out to be unfounded without really looking through every single one in detail, but unlikely to come in. Now, down to the 4, what's the relevance to this case? So if Chauvin had, again, I'm making this up, so I don't know which complaint came in, and I don't know what the complaints are against him, but let's say he'd taken $25 out of the defendant's wallet after arrest. If you analyze that, does that really make sense that has anything to do with this trial, an assault, and a murder, and in custody? Probably not. Did he lie about something on a prior arrest? Well, that might be different. Now, that might be a complaint that would come in because it's relevant. As I understand it, he may have said that he thought his knee was on the shoulder, not the neck. That's clearly shown not to be true. And so if he had lied and that was the substance of a prior complaint, then it would seem relevant. And then, of course, if there was anything eerily similar to this, where he had used excessive force on prior occasion, that might be relevant and connected to how he handled this situation.
Tom, what's it like bringing a criminal case against a cop in that, I've heard some people say, hey, if this was a regular person, this would be handled different. It's not a regular person. We ask a lot of law enforcement who put them in real difficult situations, but it seems to me that a jury, when they're looking at an officer, they may have different expectations about what should or shouldn't be expected from a person on the job. How do you handle that when you're laying out and trying to make it clear where the standards of acceptable behavior and not, and where that line is with those 12 jurors?
So with those 12 jurors in this case, I'd have to say, stick to the facts of this case. What you saw, you're not an expert, right? But we're gonna show you what we have to prove to convict this man, forget that he's a cop, of second-degree unintentional murder or third-degree murder in Minnesota. And so my summation might touch on it a bit in terms of especially in terms of what Lieutenant Zimmerman testified about, is this is not our policy. This is not what cops do. This is not how we train our men. So I'm going to mention that, but a lot of my summation has to do with don't be clouded by this. This is another human being. Yes, he may have been in a tough spot, but at the end of the day, did he cause George Floyd's death while he was committing a felony? And that knee to the neck for those last 5-6 minutes, I'm focusing on that first and foremost.
Tom Luzia, I really appreciate a few minutes with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, folks, we come back. We're going to pivot to the world of politics, and it is looking like Republicans could be on the wrong side of history, and I say that again. Majority of voters, they like the new stimulus plan and also Biden's infrastructure proposal. But the question is, what's McConnell going to do? Right now, he and every Republican is opposed to the idea. After the break, I'm going to show you why that's not the only headwind the GOP is facing.
Villains, robbers, bandits, crooks, they're all over your TV screen. But the biggest thieves are behind your screen. I'm talking about the cable companies. They charge monthly subscriptions, fees, rentals, and force you to take long-term contracts. Well, it's time to say goodbye to the cable guy, because now you can watch 4K Ultra HD broadcast TV for free. Introducing Clear TV's new 4K Ultra HD design, the Premium HD. Just plug it into your TV and start watching for free. You will instantly receive top-rated network shows, local news and weather, sporting events, and even Ultra HD 4K broadcast shows, all for free. Thanks to federal government mandate, all broadcasters are required to transmit a digital TV signal through the airwaves. The new Premium Clear TV lets you bypass cable or satellite to bring network and 4K broadcast shows directly to your television. Retract the antenna to keep it small or extend them for maximum reception.
Setup was so easy. I took my Clear TV antenna, plugged it into the back of the TV, and now I can watch my favorite broadcast channels anywhere in the house for free.
We're just off the coast here in the Gulf of Mexico receiving free network broadcast HD TV. Imagine all the free shows you'll receive at home. Basic cable and satellite services can cost you up to $80 a month. That's $960 a year and almost $10,000 over a 10-year period. Watch TV in as many rooms as you like with no additional monthly fees. Stop spending money you don't have to spend. Call or go online now and get your premium Clear TV 4K Ultra HD antenna for only $19.95. It's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee. Order now and you can add a second Clear TV free. Just pay separate processing and handling. That's a $40 value for only $19.95.
I can't believe I get all these channels for free. Plus 4K Ultra HD, Clear TV is for real.
Mary and Shirley both need oxygen. Shirley lost her freedom the day she went on oxygen, but Mary has the ultra-compact Inogen 1 G4 oxygen concentrator from Inogen. It's the smallest and lightest model we've ever made, so she'll always have the oxygen she needs anytime, anywhere. The sooner you call, the sooner you can reclaim the freedom and independence you deserve. Call now for your 30-day risk-free trial.
Call 800-683-1390. That's 800-683-1390.
Somewhere, wherever he is right now, Mitch McConnell, he's probably thinking about just one thing, and that's power. How to wield it, how to get more of it. But two things may be lining up to block our friend Mitch: the public and, surprisingly, corporate America. Let me bring back Andrew for more.
Well, Rich, as you know, Mitch McConnell is widely regarded as being the master strategist of the Senate, but he doesn't seem to have figured out how to obstruct Joe Biden and his agenda, at least not yet. The party had no strategy to stop the Biden stimulus, and so far on infrastructure, all they have are complaints about cost and taxes. They also don't have the public on their side. Nearly 3/4 of Americans say they support the Biden stimulus, and more than half the nation supports the infrastructure plan, even if it's being paid for with higher taxes on corporations or wealthy Americans. And now there's a new issue that's threatening Mitch's grips on power: the very bills that he's hoping will guarantee his power. We're talking about those voter restriction laws being pushed by Republicans in dozens of states, including Georgia. Georgia passed its restrictions, but now Georgia-based companies, including Coca-Cola, Delta, UPS, Home Depot, even the Atlanta Falcons have gone public criticizing that law. And just today, Major League Baseball moved the 2021 All-Star Game out of Atlanta in response to the new law. Turns out a similar bill is being debated in Texas right now. Companies there aren't waiting. Dell Computers, American and Southwest Airlines, and AT&T, all based in Texas, are all panning the bill and urging lawmakers to reject it. That trend, if it continues, could be catastrophic for the GOP, which, since the Nixon administration, has been the party of corporate America. One of their biggest backers has long been the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and their pro-corporate advocacy. And keep in mind, corporate America has used its power against the right before. When ad dollars stopped flowing because of scandal and outrageous comments, Fox News parted ways with Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck. Even Tucker Carlson has seen his sponsorships all but dry up, but Tucker still draws eyeballs and money into Fox, so he stays on the air, at least for now, Rich.
So, listen, public opinion has not driven policy. We've seen that before, time and time again. We talked, unfortunately, last week and even this week about guns.
Sure.
And again, background checks, 90% of Americans want it, but it won't see the light of day for all the political equations we know about. However, I think something happened where Mitch McConnell and the party saw about 10 years ago the unavoidable trend lines in this country where the plurality was going to be skewing Democrat. The older white voters that were the Republican base were aging out, if you will. And then a thing called Donald Trump happened. And then it kind of confused the whole situation. Wait a minute. He can tap into some populism here. Now, I believe Trump has a short shelf life. I think the last election may have borne that out. But now they're in a box where Mitch's plan, I think, was always along, let me just pack the courts. The courts will stop an activist government to do stuff that even if the public wants, they won't let them. And two, they'll stop social progress on social issues here. And again, they can blame the courts, not the party. The problem is when money gets involved. And if money dries up, forget about just Fox News, but corporate donations dry up. Or now all of a sudden the Georgia governor says, wait a minute, people aren't coming to Atlanta for these big events. I'm going to lose major tax revenue. Maybe even corporate anchors won't do business in Georgia. What do I do then? The almighty buck might change the equation here and might force the Republican Party in certain circumstances to at least acknowledge the plurality of this country and what they want. Now, maybe it's just me trying to connect dots where they don't exist, but I think there's a there there. And if it's not just a 1 day or 2 day news cycle and pressures exerted on these companies that are based in red states, I think that dynamic changes.
It's interesting because I think these companies don't want to be seen as being anti-democracy, and that's the way that a lot of these voting restriction bills are being viewed. But there's an interesting dynamic at play also because Joe Biden wants to raise corporate America's taxes right now as part of the infrastructure bill as a way to pay for it. So he's sort of having a demand on corporate America, something they're not going to like. Meanwhile, he's sort of hoping that they'll continue their pressure campaign in various states and maybe even on the federal voting access bill as well to try to get that through. So figuring out where corporate America is going to fall, it's interesting right now.
It is, except we've talked about this on the show, but I think it bears repeating. It's not like we're going back to Eisenhower here. We're talking about tax rates north of 50% or something. We're talking about on the corporate level to restore those tax rates to 28%, which is where they were before, just a few years ago before Trump came into office. So this idea that corporate America not only is going to have to swallow hard and tighten belts, they did very well in the Obama years, and they would theoretically do just as well in the Biden years. We saw great job numbers as well. But I think it's going to be really interesting because it won't just stop at Georgia. We mentioned before a host of other states are trying to have restrictive voting policies as well. Every corporation that's headquartered in those places, they got to think twice, especially if their product is sold beyond that state's borders. Nobody wants this kind of bad press here. So what kind of pressures they put on their Republican governors, I think will be fascinating. And I think, to me, more even fascinating, the public dynamic of the polls say this, you're not voting this way. What about the green? If the green in terms of money dries up or people pack up and move somewhere else, Now all of a sudden we've got a ball game we haven't seen before.
Well, right now we have corporate statements that are in opposition to these bills that are going through, but none of those corporations have threatened to pull their money or pull their headquarters out, or even to say we're not going to contribute to Republican campaigns, although we've seen some measure of that when it comes to people who may have been involved in the riot or may have been questioning the validity of the 2020 election. There have been some corporations that we're not going to give money to those people. But you know, there's a difference between the press releases that we're getting and actually using the dollars as leverage, which we're not seeing just yet.
I think in a perverse way, follow sports. We just saw MLB moving their All-Star game out of Georgia.
By the way, they should move it to Washington, talking about representation.
Right? But listen, if you follow sports in the southeast part of this country, college football is king, okay, even more than the pros. If the SEC all of a sudden, and you need black athletes who make up well over 70-some-odd% of these player rosters, all right, all of a sudden, if they start saying, I'm not going to play or I won't attend that college anymore if they have restricting voting rights. We've seen activist athletes before, even at the collegiate level, and if all of a sudden the leagues take notice, the NCAA gets involved, it will be fascinating because now you're talking about the fabric of culture right now. And if they have to be shamed into it, some of these institutions, if all of a sudden they really put their money where their mouth is, literally and figuratively, then all of a sudden I think we could see a sea change. Again, it is early, but I wanted to talk about this tonight because I see potentially here where activism with dollars and cents might really take the lead here, especially when it's talking about something as basic to our democracy as voting. All right, when we come back, the U.S. Capitol on lockdown today after a vehicle ramming into a barricade and 2 police officers tragically killing one of them today. We've got the very latest after the break.
Shake your legs, shake your abs, shake your butt, shake up your entire body to a slim, firm, and sexy new you with PowerFit Elite, the breakthrough multi-directional vibration platform that helps engage all your muscles from the moment you step on it. PowerFit uses multi-directional vibration to create muscle confusion and rapidly contract and relax your muscles to help you get fit and stay fit.
It's intense. You really feel your whole body working. You could be watching TV, but you do feel the workout.
It works you out where you don't feel like you're working out. It's actually a lot of fun.
Each traditional exercise that you do on PowerFit Elite can help sculpt, transform, and redefine your body from head to toe. The secret is the multi-directional vibration technology that causes muscle confusion and forces them to contract and counter-challenge you. Your muscles work hard so you can stabilize and maintain your balance. There are 3 standing positions: walking, jogging, and then running. Plus, there are 3 different program levels for workouts to choose from, so you can really customize your workout. PowerFit Elite can help improve your energy, burn calories, tone your body, define your abs, work your arms, strengthen your legs, boost your buttocks, and so much more. And for an even more intense workout, add resistance bands for bicep curls, forward lateral raises, and crisscross pulls. It's time to join the new fitness revolution that's shaking up the world. Call or go online now and you can try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95. But wait, order right now and we'll upgrade you to the deluxe set that includes the complete workout guide, the power bands, and the handy remote control. That's an over $80 value free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days. And if it's not the best workout system you've used, just return it for a refund of your trial price. But hold everything, we'll also add our healthy eating plan to help you achieve your best possible results free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95 and experience the power of extreme vibrations. Order now.
8 years ago, my daughter called to say she was expecting our first grandchild, but I never heard her say it. So a few years ago, Gina bought me a nano hearing aid. And now I love hearing Ryan call me Papa. And at only $297 for a full pair, they make a great gift for someone you know. Plus, call now and order 1 hearing aid, and Nano will give you a second absolutely free.
Call 1-800-238-2857.
Less than 2 months after the riot, an already tense Capitol put on lockdown today after a guy with a knife attacked Capitol police officers after ramming into a barricade outside the building, tragically killing one of them. An 18-year-old veteran of the force named Billy Evans. Police, they've identified the suspect, 25-year-old man from the state of Indiana named Noah Green. A deadly incident at the nation's capital when a vehicle rammed into a barricade towards 2 Capitol Police officers.
And it is with a very, very heavy heart that I announce one of our officers has succumbed to his injuries.
Law enforcement sources confirmed that the suspect is dead. A source says the Capitol Police opened fire after the vehicle rammed into a barricade on Constitutional Avenue, that on the north side of the complex. A federal official says the vehicle was occupied by a single driver. Authorities say the individual exited the vehicle armed with a weapon and was shot by Capitol Police. According to an FBI spokesperson, the FBI Washington field office has responded to the incident. Law enforcement already on high alert in the wake of the Capitol attack on January 6th, which left 5 people dead.
The U.S. Capitol has always been clearly a symbol of this country. That's why the 9/11 hijackers attempted to fly a plane into the U.S. Capitol. It's the heart of our government. It's the heart of our democracy.
And we'll be right back to wrap things up.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Diabetics understand all too well the pain of pricking your fingers. But now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can immediately reduce your pain. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 or more times daily, injecting insulin 3 or more times daily, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now.
This is important news for people who have taken Zantac or its generic ranitidine and then suffered from cancer. Zantac and generic ranitidine have been linked to cancers such as bladder cancer and kidney cancer. According to the FDA, Zantac and ranitidine contain NDMA, a known cancer-causing agent. NDMA has been linked to cancers of the bladder, kidney, colon, esophagus, liver, ovaries, pancreas, and other cancers. If you or a loved one took Zantac or ranitidine and were then diagnosed with cancer, call the lawyers at Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call the lawyers at Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one took Zantac or generic ranitidine and were then diagnosed with bladder cancer, kidney cancer, or any of these cancers. Call now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call Davis & Crump right now. Operators are standing by.
Well, that is going to do it for us tonight and for this week. Before I say goodnight to all who will recognize both Passover and Easter this weekend, I wish you the best. I will see you back here Monday. Till then, have a great weekend.
Guys, got hair loss? I know what you're thinking.